Hello, welcome to Insights in Action with Orange 142, where we interview agency leaders and business owners to uncover the journeys, strategies, and insights that drive their success. At Orange 142, we're all about transforming brand stories into impactful digital experiences through innovative media and marketing solutions. And today I'm joined by Alex of Malix Media. How's it going, Alex?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. And I'm wanting to make sure I pronounce that right. Is it Malix or Malix?
Malix. Yeah, Malix Media is a combination of my name and my business partner, Max Morgan. So we just took Max and Alex, combined it into one, except we decided to change the E in Alex to an I to try to just draw people off the scent that we just combined our
Yeah.
names.
I love it. Matt and Alex from Malix. Well, hey, so I would love to just start off by learning a little bit more about your background, what brought you to create Malix Media, and your guys' history a little bit, your company's history.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so Malix Media we're a boutique ad agency based out of Philadelphia. We've been in business since 2013,
Mhm.
but I've been shooting video since I was like 13, maybe. My friends and I would, back in the dawn of YouTube, we would actually, before even YouTube, we were shooting these little sketches and whatnot. And I really didn't really, I was just having fun basically at the time. I had no plans at that moment to get into video or ads. And it was just one thing that I was like good at. So when it came time, push came to shove on like deciding what I wanted to do. I look back at my time through high school, and it was
Mhm.
like the one thing that stood out as I had fun doing this.
Yeah.
Why don't I go study this? And I wasn't always the best student. I was like mostly skateboarding and snowboarding, playing hockey. That I was like more about sports than education. So video fell into all that, and I decided to just try approach that as something I do, something I have fun doing, and wound up getting accepted into Kutztown University, which had an electronic media program. And it's funny, oddly, at the time when I got there, they were still teaching reel to reel editing through tape. Some of my college was outdated at the time that I arrived,
Mhm.
but they taught you the basic tools of how to take an idea, all these stupid little sketches that we're shooting. They taught you how to like actually go about making that at a professional level from start to finish, and how to really round out your thoughts and ideas, and then obviously create arcs within your storyline. And then they give you the basic tools, and it was just sort of up to you to figure that out. Once I graduated college, I was basically freelancing for a while, picking whatever job I could get. Moved to Philly because my buddy had a apartment available, and that turned out to be Max. And he was a sound engineer. He also just graduated from Temple, and I just moved in to pick. Just I was like, hey, I'm going to move to the city, and I moved into his open room, was picking up gigs, and was instantly just, I need sound. You want to come? I need someone to run the boom. And so he did, and we just kept getting hired. It just made sense for us to start a company. And that's when back in 2013, that's when we started Malix Media. And we started out of the idea that we'll do this just for now, just to see where it goes. And it just never stopped,
Mhm.
basically. It just kept going. And at the time, beginning, we were mostly doing corporate, just like everyone else. That when you get out of college, you mostly wind up in corporate. But there was this like internal, this isn't enough.
Mhm.
Like, I need more, like, than just doing corporate interviews and B-roll. I'm like a very creative person, so I need to flex those creative muscles a little bit more. And we decided that we were going to take a stab at getting into the commercial world. And that required us to rethink how we were going to approach making content, and study up on advertising and marketing, and how do we make videos that clients want to use to attract an audience. And that's when we developed the fundamentals of creating content that doesn't suck, which is our motto, which
Yeah.
we live
Could
by
you
now.
But that was curious about that. That's something that you guys are very big on, Alex. And how do you define content that doesn't suck? And what's your approach to ensuring every project lives up to that standard?
Okay, so I think to define something that doesn't suck, we have to look at the word suck. Suck is a verb, right?
Yeah.
It means to be very bad or unpleasant, to perform poorly or maybe be disagreeable.
Mhm.
And when you use it in a sentence, it sounds something like this. Wow, that commercial really sucked. I
Yeah.
wish I had those 30 seconds of my life back.
Yeah.
So it for me personally, I just don't like seeing and being hit with ads that are just like just too in your face. They invest too much effort in trying to be something they can't afford to be.
Mhm.
Commercials that put too much focus on visuals over story. Maybe they have a deficiency in character, depth, or development. They could use a choice of music or wardrobe that fails to capture your audience's imagination. Perhaps it's a spot that just looks like it might appear during daytime TV, right? That's everything we try to avoid when we make commercials that don't suck.
Yeah.
And I think there's just a level of creativity that has to come with it. It's about thinking outside the box a little bit. Like I look back at the commercials I enjoy and like the campaigns that inspire me still to this day. Like you can look back at Toyota Tacoma commercials, like some of the ones where like the truck's driving and it's handheld, and then a meteor comes down and just blows it up. But then the truck survives somehow and comes out. And you're like, that to me is still like a great ad. Like that would work today if you were to shoot it. Like it's the ones, it's like, how many times have you seen a beer ad where it just gets slid down the bar top and just lands perfectly in someone's hands? You see that all the time, but what's the ones we really remember? Dilly,
Yeah.
right? It's those are the ones you remember. The best ads to me of what we strive to do are create those ads that people are going to remember and that people are going to react to, because I think that's one of the best metrics to determine whether you made a good ad or not. It's like, how is the audience reacting to it? Like, are they talking about it? Are they engaging with it? And that's what we strive to do.
Right. I love that. And it makes you think back to all the commercials I've seen that have gone back, wow, that commercial really sucks. Because I think even as a marketer, as you start to watch, like you start to filter the world a little bit differently. When you watch commercials, you're not just watching them as a consumer as much anymore. You're really starting to think, how is this commercial? Who's this commercial targeting? What's their offer? What's their message? What's going on? And it's so funny how so many companies will pay money to not have those simple things there, or have those things be very unclear. And so that's cool that you guys really tackle that in a way that's not only creative but also effective.
Yeah, it's something that like I can't tell you how many times people come to us and then they're just like, we have an idea for a commercial, and then I take it and take a look at it. I'm like, this is gonna be horrible if we shoot this. Like, we need to make this better.
Mhm.
And what we do a lot of times is I will like just push back on it. I'll just be like, look, we can shoot this, but I don't think it's going to do what you guys want it to do. I think if we actually have, you guys ever thought about doing something a little bit more fun or thought about doing this and then make a case for why they should do that?
Mhm.
And you'd be surprised how often that they're like at least willing to hear you out on those topics. And as we've gone on with our company, we've been able to convert those conversations into action more often than not, because now we have the tools to explain. And as we built our portfolio, we can now showcase this same situation. Came to us to, this is what we proposed, that won an award for an Addy or something like that.
Yeah. And from ideation to casting, Malix Media excels at all stages of production. And I guess I'm curious, how do you guys approach aligning these elements to ensure that they tell a cohesive and impactful story for you guys as clients?
Well, I like to work with clients a lot of the times, like throughout this each stage. Like a lot of our ideas are spawned from the conversations we have with the clients, right? So we want to make it's I always like to tell people like, this is your ad, I'm just executing it. But
Right.
I also want to make sure this is a good ad. So let's work together to figure out what's the best possible ad that fits your budget, right? That we can execute. A lot of times, what we wind up doing is coming to the table with 3 or 4 concepts, maybe focusing in on 1 or 2, and then like attaching a dollar amount to that's like in their price range. But like no 2 videos cost the same. So it's about working with them to get it to where they want it to be. And a lot of times, the more conversations you have with them, you're able to figure out what exactly it is that they want. And then you have to be able to we have to compromise on something sometimes, right? Hey, I want to go get a techno crane to come in and shoot this thing. And so, well, we don't have the $10,000 to do that for this ad, but we can afford a steady cam or something like that. And we have to like, okay, we could still pull this off. So really take a look. It's about the idea and making sure your idea fits not only their goals, but your creative goals as well, and executing something that you want to see out there in the world. And then just it starts with location and casting. Those are like the 2 most important aspects. And as long as you have the time to go out and find those 2 things, then I know my crew is going to come in and make it look good. I know my DP is going to have the tools to shoot it and the experience to make it look as amazing as possible. We have the Rolodex of people that fill those positions that come in and execute those things. But if you don't have the idea, the location, and the good and casting, that's your foundation right there. Everything.
Gotcha. Wow, that's super interesting. With the reputation for standing out or producing standout ads like you guys do, what advice would you give to other brands that are looking or companies that are looking to create content that truly resonates and stands out in today's crowded media landscape?
I would say you got to be willing to take chances on creativity. Like so many times we've shot ads for like people that in the earlier stages where we weren't pushing back, and those ads, I don't know, they never worked out because there's too many executives in the kitchen making like too many executive decisions on what things need to be, or like what sometimes good content is just there's just a creative nature to it, and you got to trust that process. You can give guidelines for sure, 100%. You don't, who's your target demo? This needs to be for Gen Z or for Gen X, even whatever you want it to be. Give those guidelines, but then let the creative process take place and try not to insert yourself until maybe it gets a little too far away from what your goal was. Because I think when you trust the writers and the directors that you're hiring to, they want to make content that's fun to make. That's when you get the team to come together and put extra effort into it and extra care. When everyone thinks it's a fun and cool idea, even if it doesn't have to be necessarily a comedy spot, it's like, as long as it's like an idea that everyone can get behind, that's when you get the most effort out of your squad that you're putting together. And sometimes that just requires trust from the client that you're going to execute those ideas at that level.
Yeah, I love that. And sometimes it just does take that outside perspective, right? Like it's hard to do it from the inside. It's hard to be, sometimes you're so entrenched in what you're doing as a company that having people who are used to being creative and thinking, I hate the term thinking outside of the box, but in this, like thinking outside the box a little bit, that are used to that for other companies, is so valuable. And I think that's a big part of where you guys create the value, which is awesome.
Yeah, and like I said, like I'm a human. I get hit with ads all the time. I know what I don't like to see. I know I don't want to see those corny ads that just are just run of the mill. Like I said earlier, it's like the ones that capture at least my attention are the ones that have something to offer. I'm not just watching a commercial, I'm watching a fun little short film of some sort, or even if it's not a short film, just like something that makes me laugh. And then you're inserting your brand into it and your proposition, or like you're tackling like a pain point or something. Like you can achieve those goals through these alternate forms of storytelling without just being buy this thing or do whatever Billy Mays, I'm here. You don't have to always be like that. You know what I mean? I think
exactly.
people get sick of ads, so why not make them fun? You know?
Exactly. I love it. Well, this has been great, Alex. Where can people learn more about you? Where can people find out more about your agency?
Yeah, you could check us out. We're on our website's malixmedia.com. We're on Instagram at Malix Media. You can follow us on TikTok. We do some behind the scenes sort of posting on Malix Media for TikTok. And then me personally as a director, you can find me on Instagram at director_AFR.
So, cool. Well, thank you so much for being on, Alex. This is great. Excited to see what's next for your agency.
Yeah, thanks for having me.